The Major Fitness F22 is an all-in-one home gym that combines a 2x3 power rack and a functional trainer. It's equipped with a plate-loaded pulley system on each side, a multi-grip pull-up bar, low-row foot plate, landmine attachment, and even band pegs. Coming in at $929 free shipping, in theory, it packs a lot of punch in the functionality department, but how does it stack up after using it? Let's check it out. Hey guys, this is Michael with the Jungle Gym Reviews. Today we're reviewing the Major Fitness F22. It's a 4-post power rack with 2x3 uprights, and it's made out of 14-gauge steel, so it has a 1,000-pound weight capacity. Each side of the rack has its own individual plate-loaded pulley system with the typical 2-to-1 pulley ratio as with most functional trainers. This means if you load 200 pounds on the weight stack, you get about 100 pounds of resistance just due to the physics of the pulley configuration and the weight distribution. So, just keep that in mind. If you want to do heavy rows or lat pull downs, you'll need a few extra weight plates laying around to load accordingly. With that in mind, of course, for science, I had to check out and see just how many plates I could fit on the cable weight loading horns, and I was able to fit 300 pounds on each functional trainer stack side. The weight loading horns are nicely angled upwards though, so you don't have to worry about the plates ever falling off, and in the case you have thinner plates, you can experiment with just how many you can load up on the 7.5-inch width of the loading horns. The overall height of the rack is 82.5 inches, so it should fit in most spaces comfortably. The width is 69 inches, but that includes the band pegs, the attachments, the low row plate. So just keep that in mind that when you want to go to put weight plates on the outside, you probably need a little more room in order to be able to walk around and load it. The inside, front to back depth of the rack is approximately 42 inches, and the interior width between the uprights is 42.7 inches. This is actually a really nice width between the uprights because it gives you enough space to move around, grab weight plates, load them onto the weight horns, and also allow you not to hit the uprights, especially if you have long arms during movements like bench pressing. I've had racks in the past that were around 41 inches width, and I had to sell them just to get a wider rack because I would hit my elbows during benching because I'm, 6'2" with kinda long arms. The cable height is adjustable from approximately 9 inches at the lowest setting closest to the floor, all the way up to 71 inches at the highest setting. The spacing between the cables is actually 10 centimeters on center because it's metric. It's the same spacing though for the 1-inch front holes for the J-cups and the spotter arms. Speaking to the spotter arms, I tested the capacity to see how stable the rack was, and even with 405 on the bar and my 175-pound body weight soaking wet, bouncing on top, the spotter arms and rack felt stable. My wife though didn't want me to try the Cooper Mitchell 700-pound drop test despite my creative make it or break it engineer side wanting to do so. So this F22 rack does a little bit of everything since it's geared towards home gym users across a variety of training disciplines. Because it's a power rack, you can do your typical barbell-based movements using the included J-cups and spotter arms, but the functional trainer sides allow you to do pretty much an endless number of unilateral and bilateral movements. You can just use one side for unilateral things, like if you want to do a one-arm lateral raise or a row, or if you want to do both cables together to do some sort of fly, like a chest fly, or even bench press, or some sort of seated lat pull down. And then obviously you can do all those movements, so you can also hit things like bicep curls, tricep extensions, and any other cable-driven accessory movements you can possibly think of. It also has the low row foot plate, which is really just a nice touch to be able to hit those low rows. You can also hit seated lat pull downs, but just know you have to sit in or outside the rack to avoid sitting right across these front feet extensions. The other difficult part, as with any functional trainer lat pull downs, is that if you plan to go heavy, you'll have to find a creative way to keep your butt and torso on the floor if you're pulling more weight than you weigh. This isn't Major Fitness's fault at all. It just comes with the territory of trying to do lat pull downs from the floor. And if you definitely know the struggle. Major Fitness thankfully does sell an F22 leg holder attachment to address this, but it's not included, although it's nice to know they've thought of a solution for this problem. Since they have the built-in landmine attachment, you can add yet another avenue of creativity and versatility to your workouts. Again, the goal for this rack and whole system is just maximizing the functionality while retaining all the same footprint you would already typically need for a power rack anyways. The included dip bar is nice that has 2 different widths for dips, or you can even use them for inverted rows if you like those. The multi-grip pull-up bar has plenty of grip options for you to do chin-ups, pull-ups, and they're spaced and ergonomically friendly. The padding on them is just fine and seems durable enough, and it's definitely comfortable. The last thing to point out is that there are band peg mounts at both the top and the bottom, and the bottom ones are removable with some quick-release detent pins. I personally don't use bands in my barbell training, so I can't speak too much to how well they're positioned or their functionality is, if it's good or bad for such. But for those who are interested, I think it's at least a point to mention you have the opportunity or option to utilize a combination of training methodologies and configurations as desired. I do want to take a minute to just mention the pricing again. The rack by itself is in the $900 range, but Major Fitness offers several different package tiers depending on what you need or currently have in your home gym. They have the rack and a bench for about $1,200, a rack, a bench, and a barbell set for about $1,400, and that prior combination plus 230 pounds of bumper plates for about $2,000. And their 320-pound bumper plate combo is about $2,300. I received the package with the barbell, the bench, and the 230 pounds of bumper plates, which cost approximately $2,000 as listed. For that price, without any sales or discounts, I would typically advise people to source those additional items of the bench, the bar, and the weight plates yourself. Although it's not an outrageous price that they're asking, I think just with a little time, energy, and effort, either used or new, you can source potentially a better version of all of those items. But I understand they're providing the convenience of a pre-selected click and ship ready package. For what it's worth, the bench is solid from slight decline all the way to 90-degree adjustments. The barbell is black and sleek with decent knurling, and has very smooth rotating bearings. The bumper plates just function as one would expect bumper plates to, and they have a nice bright color scheme as you can see here. On the topic of plates, I would really consider whether or not you need or want to use actual bumper plates. For myself, I would much prefer smaller change plates that are rubber coated for ease of use and storage. Since I never really drop the weights from overhead or somewhere where it would matter to have a dedicated bumper plates over the standard rubber coated or iron plate options. Again, to reiterate, if I didn't have plates, bench, or barbell at all, and I was looking to start my gym from scratch at zero, I would likely purchase this rack, then source the other items separately. Rep Fitness has a great line of affordable bench options, and you can find a decent Boneyard barbell from Rogue or a new decent bar option cheap on Amazon. And the weight plates you can pretty much find anywhere in any style and any color configuration you want for about $1 a pound, sometimes slightly more, sometimes slightly less. If you're interested in a future video going into the details on where and how to select and shop for these, please let me know in the comments below. All right, so as far as alternate options go, it's widely dependent on your needs. If all you need is a rack to be able to do some barbell movements on, you can find a pretty cheap 2x2 rack on Amazon for just a couple $100s. If you want a more reputable brand, Rep Fitness has their PR1000/1100, and the Titan Fitness with the T2 are both 2x2 racks with 14 gauge steel. They have the support and ability to add a lot more attachment like weight plate storage. You can add extensions. You can add a lat pull down, a low row, safety spotters, dip bars, pull-up bars, etc. Those usually start around $400 for the base rack configuration though, but then you can expand on those over time based on your needs and budget. If you're looking for a more comparable rack to this F22 with a functional trainer, the market is all over the place and the prices fluctuate wildly depending on so many factors. This is where you really need to think and prioritize what your use case is and what you really need. Do you need barbell movements with an occasional cable use? An option like this is perfect. Do you need the cable use as a priority? I would probably opt for a selectorized cable machine. Do you have the floor space to have a separate rack and a trainer? Then I would likely suggest having both separately. In an ideal world, I would almost always recommend a separate power rack and functional trainer because when you buy them individually, you have a lot more options for customization, long-term compatibility. Plus, it's easier to get a really good power rack and really good functional trainer as separate items, either new or used. Although the caveat to that statement is that since we're now in the year 2024, when you get into beefy 3x3 racks that have the rack-mounted selectorized functional trainer options that all the big equipment retailers are starting to offer, like Rep, Rogue, Vesta, Bolt, Frey, Vulcan Strength, you name it, these two machines combined in one actually tend to feel just as good as a standalone machines would at that price point and general quality level. All right, so overall, the Major Fitness F22 is definitely a very functional piece that maximizes the sheer amount of movements you can do in a singular and relatively small footprint. Nothing about it screams premium, and does a little bit of everything quite well and honestly for a very fair price. If you do want a one-stop shop for your home gym, any of the F22 package options will do fine depending on your needs. Another observation I noticed while using this machine is that the cables and pulleys that come with it by default aren't the best. They work, but compared to my dedicated Center/Inspire SF3 Selectorized Functional Trainer and my Rep PR5000 Selectorized Lat Pulldown and Low Row, not shown here, and a few other pulley-driven machines that I currently or have owned, there's a noticeable difference in the overall smoothness for the cable travel. Again, if you plan to use cables as your primary training method, I would generally advise you to consider a dedicated functional trainer option, both due to just the smoothness and the ease of use, or even just the convenience that comes with a selectorized versus plate-loaded version. I do also want to mention Major Fitness does offer an aluminum pulley set upgrade for these pulleys, which you can swap out for about $160, and then that would definitely make things smoother and be a consideration of mine if I have long-term ownership of this machine. Another point to note is when you buy one of these all-in-one racks from a specific manufacturer, you do lose some of the universal compatibility between other brands. With this specific rack upright combination of width, orientation, hole spacing, diameter, there aren't many cross-compatible aftermarket attachments that can be added. However, Major Fitness has done a good job at covering their bases for the needs of their users, and they do offer a lot of good attachments in my opinion, so you can additionally purchase the ones you want and are compatible to your specific Major Fitness rack from there directly. For this F22, they have a rack-mounted leg extension, a lateral raise attachment, lever arms, a leg holder for lat pull-downs, and even an upgrade to this rack's functional trainer on each side, so you can put a 170-pound weight stack on either side and a few other things. So again, just know that when you buy this rack, you can probably only use the attachment that Major Fitness offers, but that seems to be plenty for now. If you're specifically interested in more cross-market attachment compatibility, I would look to a 2x2 or 3x3 rack, as there are a few more attachment offerings for the 2x2 racks with 1-inch holes, 3x3 racks with 5-inch holes, and of course, the gold standard 3x3 racks with 1-inch holes, which pretty much any and all rack attachments are made for. So guys, that's pretty much it for the Major Fitness F22. Thank you for checking out this review. If you have any questions or suggestions for future reviews, please comment down below, and I'll be happy to answer or at least try. Thank you for tuning into the Jungle Gym Reviews. We'll see you next time. Take it easy. Peace.